Do a quick audio check for me. We'll be going live right at 2:10 p.m. Eastern here. This is an audio check for me, and looking forward to hearing from everybody as we get ready to go live at 2:10 p.m. Do a quick audio check for me. We'll be going live right at 2:10 p.m. Eastern here. This is an audio check for me, and looking forward to hearing from everybody as we get ready to go live at 2:10 p.m. How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs postgame live. Indiana 74-65 winners over Chattanooga at Simon Scott Assembly Hall Saturday afternoon. And this was a game that Indiana, they win. They didn't exactly dominate the Moccasins, and that's a continued cause for concern as the Hoosiers go along. But IU had better balance, got more off the bench than Chattanooga, and benefited from a mix of solid defense late in the game and also having just Chattanooga miss some shots along the way. That to me is your biggest concern. 812-393-2600 is your number as the Hoosiers move to, I believe it's 9-3 on the season, bounce back from that last loss that they had, and that's the positives. You play these games, you want to win the game, and the Hoosiers did just that. Inconsistency continues to be a hallmark of this team. Inconsistency is the biggest issue for the Hoosiers. If your name isn't Malik Renew has actually played pretty well so far this season, but it really is an IU team that is just so incredibly inconsistent along the way. They win the ball game, and that's what you want. I like their energy a lot more than what I have seen in recent games. But against a team like Chattanooga, you don't feel good about the fact that Indiana was only up by 3 at halftime, only scored 33 points in the second half. And some of the issues that have long been a problem for these Hoosiers have continued. 50%, they shoot 29 of 58 overall, but just 5 of 20 from three-point range and 11 of 20 from the free throw line. And that free throw line and three-point line have been issues pretty much throughout Mike Woodson's time here at Indiana. It also was a situation where Indiana had better size than Chattanooga, and that's obviously is going to be a positive. But Chattanooga also found some easy baskets along the way, and you can get away with that against Chattanooga. But you have to be able to get out to leads against team that you're better than and then put them away when you have that opportunity. And the Hoosiers have not done a very good job of that. And to me, that is where your concern really comes in, because we've seen what happens to this team when they're playing peer-level opponents. And the Hoosiers haven't exactly overwhelmed them, and certainly not away from Assembly Hall. Go through some of the starters here as we get going. 812-393-2600. The lines are open. I want to hear from you on the chat. I want to hear what you have to say about this Hoosier Ball Club. Even happy to talk some football for some of you that got to bed before we went on line last night. That was a late start to the call-in show, obviously. Also think it's real interesting that there's a lot of people talking about how Indiana didn't deserve to get into the college football playoffs, and they shamed the CFP shamed itself by including Indiana. Penn State is currently up 28-0 on SMU early in the second half, and yeah, SMU. Look, it wasn't a good Indiana game last night, but let's stop with this. They didn't deserve it. They did. Some of the starters: Malik Renew, 14 points on 7 of 12 shooting. He adds 8 rebounds and 4 assists, but he did have 4 turnovers on the night. He added 3 steals in 27 minutes. He actually led the team by being plus 18. So I don't want to, tear down Renew, because I felt that he was as good as the Hoosiers have had in recent games. You had Mackenzie Mbako, 14 points on 5 of 7 shooting, knocked down 3 of 4 3-pointers. He added 4 rebounds, had 2 turnovers and a block in 25 minutes, but was not exactly a defensive stalwart, which, again, none of this is new. And I think that's part of the issue, is we're seeing Indiana play kind of the same game over and over and over again. And you could get away with it against Chattanooga. I worried against other teams. Omar Ballo, 9 points on 2 of 3 shooting, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. It's great that he got to the line 7 times, but boy, 3 shots for a guy like Ballo against Chattanooga. You want to see that number a little bit higher. He did have 8 rebounds and 4 assists in 25 minutes, but is only 0 on the plus and minus. That means that basically, in terms of helping Indiana on the scoreboard, they gave up as much as they got when he was on the floor. You have Miles Rice, 4 points on 2 of 8 shooting, missed all 4 of his shots from three-point range, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a couple of turnovers in 24 minutes. His inconsistency continues to be an issue for this ball club. And then Trey Galloway rounds out the starters, 8 points on 3 of 7 shooting, 1 of 3 from three-point range, gets to the free throw line twice, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, had a turnover, had a steal in 20 minutes. He was plus 13. The only other guy outside of Renew to be double figures on the plus minus. Indiana's bench showed up for this one, and that was really important. The Hoosiers, 25 points off the bench, led by Bryson Tucker, 9 points on 3 of 5 shooting. He added 3 rebounds. You had Kanyon Carlisle, 8 points on 4 of 9 shooting, missed all 3 of his shots from three-point range, a couple of rebounds. He had an assist, block, steal, 24 minutes, but he was minus 6 on the plus minus. Luke Goody, 5 points on 2 of 5 shooting, added 5 rebounds. Didn't make that impact from distance, which is what he's out there to deal with. And then you got 3 points from Anthony Leal. Didn't get any points from Langdon Hatton. He was in the game for just a couple of minutes. But this is an Indiana team that continues to make a living in the paint. 36 points in the paint. 15 second chance points, grabbed 11 offensive rebounds. That's all great. But again, you have to be able to expand your game. And that, I think, is where the Hoosiers have come up short. I'm going to be real interested to hear what Mike Woodson has to say about this game. And we'll have that audio here in just a little bit. But for now, 812-393-2600 is the number. Throw me a question in the chat. Give me a call. Want to hear from you. And again, happy to talk IU basketball or IU football. Either one of them will work just fine. Stay on for as long as you want to chat. Because we're getting into this point now where you have one more tune-up game, which is Winthrop, December 29th. And obviously that game is not exactly going to be a test, or it better not be. It better not be a test, but Winthrop is a game that allows you to at least fine-tune what you're running and hopefully build a little bit of confidence. But this game was a lot harder than it should have been given the talent level on this IU roster. They weren't horrible. I was happy with the energy that they had for much of the game. But you should be able to overwhelm Chattanooga and not have this be a close game as you're getting late in the game. That just should not be the case. And yet, with 6:49 to play, or as late as 3:09 to play, Chattanooga was within a couple of buckets. And that is not a situation you want to be in if you are the Hoosiers. And given the troubles of this team, you don't want to have any kind of issues with being able to put teams away. I liked some of Indiana's ball movement today. They continue to pound the ball inside, and they were effective with it. I liked just what I call the old man post moves from Malik Renew. He continues to turn in a great effort in that area. He's just continues to develop as a low post scorer. He's not reaching, I would say at this point in his career, there's a certain element of a poor man's Juwan Morgan in that he's still developing to get to that point. But I do like that Renew is starting, at least in his play, if not his actions, to become one of those leaders for this team. One of the go-to guys. That you need a basket, you could get it to Renew. He needs to continue to work on his consistency. But that is one of my concerns for this team going forward as they move into January, is you don't have a guy who can consistently, you give him the ball, shot clock winding down, and he can make something happen. Guys can get shots up, but that doesn't mean that they are actually getting them to fall and be able to take over a game. Renew is not that create his own offense kind of guy. You have to feed him inside, but his mix of range and his ability to get to the rim is impressive. But he continues to have foul troubles as well. So he's taking those steps, but he's not quite there yet. 812-393-2600. Lines are wide open, and I want to hear from you. Give us a call if you're driving home from the game. Feel free to give us a call. It is I just they play the same game over and over and over again, and I really feel like whether it is Chattanooga or UNC Greensboro or any of these other teams that Indiana has played, there is not a lot new going on for the Hoosiers. It is inconsistency, game to game. And on one hand, if you want a silver lining that, you could say, well, at least teams can't focus on any one player or the other because you don't know who could hurt you. And everybody does have that ability, but there's just no consistency. You don't know who that guy is going to be until the ball is tipped. You have Renew, who obviously could put points on the board, and he's continuing to help with that consistency. But again, foul trouble has been a part of his entire college career to this point. Mackenzie Mbako has the ability to light up, but we've seen him do a disappearing act in plenty of games this year. And you could run right down. Miles Rice has been incredible in some games, and then he turns in a 4-point outing against Chattanooga. Ballo, he could be a load inside, but he is really at his best when he isn't being fed the ball, but is rather scoring on putbacks, rebounding, being a defensive force. And he could be a load for teams. There's no question, but he's not an operator in the paint the way that Renew might be. Trey Galloway is a guy that's played a lot of basketball, but he is as inconsistent as they come. And that can change from possession to possession and from half to half, for sure, as he continues to build. I do like the continued development of Bryson Tucker. He led the bench with 9 points on 3 of 5 shooting, but only played 14 minutes. Wasn't in foul trouble because he didn't get called for a foul. So to me, that's a guy that you need to have on the court in these games against teams like Chattanooga, because they needs the experience going forward and being able to be that guy, be the guy, I should say, for the Hoosiers, because he's going to be needed. And he has the talent and he has the desire. You could see that. You could see that that is the case. It's just that you don't always have, I guess, just the playing time, the consistency. I always feel when Bryson Tucker's on the floor, you get a couple of things. One, you might get a weird shot every now and again to where he's not necessarily taking the best shot, but then he's also looking over his shoulder because, yeah, he's a freshman, and it feels like Mike Woodson is actively looking for reasons why he maybe should come off the floor. And to me, in games like this, he really needs to be able to have any kind of work through mistakes, I guess is the best way to put that. And I'd like to see him get more of that opportunity, especially against Winthrop. It's fine against Big Ten teams. You want to be able to build that, but we'll see how this all goes. That is a little bit of a frustration for me. 812-393-2600 is your number. Lines are wide open. We did have a comment on the Peegs.com message board. My note about this, about the postgame live, IU alum 150 says, does Woodson ever comment on rebounding issues? Does anyone ever ask in a press conference? Obviously, we had an enormous height advantage, but still had so many missed rebounding opportunities because we just didn't block out and they rely on their height. Just curious if Woodson has commented on this. And the answer is, yeah, he is asked about the rebounding along the way. Indiana out-rebounds Chattanooga 37-29. But I completely agree with the comment that they rely a lot on their height. You don't have the physical rebounding that I would like to see with any kind of consistency. Does it happen? Sure. Is there any kind of consistency? This is, again, one of the themes for this team is that they don't have an identity or anything that they hang their hat on. You're not like you go into every game, and it's certainly not this team is going to knock down some threes, or this team is going to drive an opponent nuts with its defense. Or you could say what? They might not make all their shots, but damn it, they control the glass, and you know that you're going to get that every single time out. None of that is the case. This is a team that is a pick-and-roll post offense. That's their identity, I suppose, at this point, is that they're a post-scoring offense. But, again, you can't be that when you get 25 points out of your post guys. That's solid. That's a third of your points. But in today's college basketball, that's not something that's going to win a lot of games, especially in conference play. So, to me, that is a challenge for this Hoosiers. This Hoosier ball club. And again, a 74-65 win is a positive. But man, you sure do want to see more from this team, especially against these opponents. You could go ahead and you could look right down this schedule that the Hoosiers have had. And yeah, we all know that when they've played quality opponents, it has not been pretty for Indiana. You look Southern Illinois, they win by 19, that was fine. Eastern Illinois, 90-55, but it was not exactly a thing that blew your doors off. Beating South Carolina, 87-71, there were flashes in that. But then you had UNC Greensboro, and that was a bit of a concern. Indiana gets an 11-point win. It's a victory. And you could still kind of lean on the idea that these guys are new playing together. But then you go to the Bahamas, and we all know they get the hell beat out of them by Louisville. Gonzaga overwhelms them easily. The Hoosiers beat a tired Providence team by 16. A team that had played the late game the night before, then played the early game the next day. Still gave up 73 points to Providence. So it's not a defense that is locking down. They beat Sam Houston handily and Miami of Ohio, but both of those games had some stretches that were really concerning. And again, the 97 points against Sam Houston was obviously a positive, but there were moments along the way in that one that made you scratch your head. Then you get into conference play, and Minnesota, not a very good ball club at all, they presented Indiana with their challenges. And then Indiana went to Nebraska last week and loses 85-68, shoots a bunch of threes in a way that they hadn't before. And again, it's a team that you could say they're trying to find themselves, but God, they're 11 games in now. We're a third of the way through the season. You should have been a little bit more locked in on where you are. So picking up a 9-point win against Chattanooga is not something to throw a party about, to say the least. 812-393-2600. Winthrop is next on the schedule. The Hoosiers have 8 days to prep for that. You have Rutgers and then a road trip to Penn State before USC comes here. So two of the first 3 games in Big Ten play once you get to January are at home and not against juggernaut teams. But Rutgers has given Indiana their problems. Penn State's given Indiana their problems. USC's a little bit of an unknown, but you have to be more consistent for 40 minutes if you're going to win the ball game. It's that simple. And we'll see if the Hoosiers are able to put some things together. We have some of the other things that they're talking about on our Peegs message board continues to not be about anything all that exciting. You know, it is talk about apathy. In the stands, especially at the start of this game, it's a noon tip-off, so it's a great time for people to come to the game. It's Chattanooga, so, you know, it's not a high-level opponent, but this is a game that is, you know, part of the mini package, and you want to be able to bring your family to a game, enjoy a Simon Scott Assembly Hall. This was one of them. People weren't in their seats at the start of this game, to say the least. And it wasn't exactly a very excited crowd. It's a subdued atmosphere at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. This is a team that I think nobody's getting excited about, and there's a high level of concern by what they've seen to this point. And understandably so, because there isn't a lot of reason for belief. As you want to see this team, if you talk about where this team has improved at this point in the season versus where they were at game 1, what is that improvement that you have seen? And there's nothing really that I can identify as being something you're like, all right, the Hoosiers are doing this a lot better than they did in that first game, as so many new faces, moving parts, and the same excuses that were made last year. To me, This is a team that is beating teams with talent, teams that they should be beating with talent, your mid-majors. You don't have a major upset loss with this ball club. But when they've played peer teams like Louisville, like Gonzaga, like Nebraska, they have not struggled. Minnesota's a couple steps below, just not only in terms of talent, but just in where they are as a program. So Indiana was able to get the job done there, but that was a less than impressive outing as well. And you want this team to start to take a step. And we ain't seeing that step. And this thing was on the verge of being a real disaster. When you talk about where this team was, where the score was, with as late as a minute 51 to go in the game. Chattanooga was down 67-63. Had an opportunity to make a stop and cut that score to 2 or 1. The Hoosiers did score on a second chance layup by Renew and traded baskets. Were able to pull away a little bit late. But again, Chattanooga in the final, I think let's see what exactly the number is, 2 of their last 11 shooting. And that made all the difference in the world because that's just where they were. Indiana made its last 3 buckets, so that was a positive. But these games are harder than they need to be. One thing I will give Mike Woodson credit for is, at the very least, he did extend the bench a little bit. Today you had Leal, Tucker, Carlisle, Goody, and Hatton. So you had 5 guys off the bench that saw some time. Takes away a little bit of the wear and tear on those starters. That you want to keep them fresh. Obviously, you've had 8 days since your last game. You have 8 days until your next one. So fatigue isn't a big part of the equation here. But in games like this, you want to be able to go a little bit deeper into your bench. And Woodson was able to do just that. The question, of course, is, is that going to pay off later on when you do start to kind of shorten your bench and be able to get guys to be where you need them to be in terms of getting in a rhythm, in terms of getting everything together. I'm frustrated and I'm concerned about this IU team. You want them to be able to put somebody away and win easily, and that just isn't what we're seeing. Hopefully, we'll be getting comments from head coach Mike Woodson here in the very near future. That is something that I'm waiting on, excited to bring you, because I want to hear what Woody has to say as well after an outing like this. It is, again, you should be able to handle Chattanooga a lot better than they have. And yet Chattanooga was had built as much as a 7-point lead on the Hoosiers in the first half. And Indiana continues to let teams get off to a little bit better start than they need to. Indiana will lose focus at times and allow teams to crawl back into it. Hoosiers are really lucky that they've been playing at Assembly Hall as much as they have, which isn't unusual this time of year, but it doesn't translate into success when you go on the road. That's for sure. That is something that Indiana has to, if not be concerned about. Certainly, you can see some of the issues that are potentially creeping up, to say the least. 812-393-2600 is your number. Again, waiting on the post game here is the Hoosiers. I know that Woodson has been in his press conference, and that was a while ago. One of the comments that I could see that we're going to hear is he said, I just didn't see a good sign tonight. We just got to keep working, man. from Jeff Rabjohn says, you guys had a stretch there in the second half and no points for around 6 minutes and no baskets around 8 minutes while they got within 4. What needs to change to avoid that against good teams? And Woody says, again, that's 2 games in a row we've had a stretch like that. I don't know if guys are looking over their shoulder after the Nebraska game. The Nebraska game, we didn't play bad. We had about 6 minutes where we couldn't make a shot. And as a coach, I have to get us over that hump. I have to get us comfortable to where we make plays down the home stretch. Again, he keeps saying about getting them over the hump, and I understand that's coach speak, but you're 4 years in. This shouldn't be a challenge to get them over the hump or get them to where you think that they should be. Those kind of comments are odd. Later, he said, we prepared all work for this team, but I didn't see a lot of good things from the work we put in. So being able to translate what you're seeing on the field or in the practice room to the court is one of the keys to all of this. And I continue to see 5 guys playing instead of it being a team that's playing. That's my real concern on all of this. 812-313-2600 is the number. Give me a call. On our chat, Gritty says, why does Ballo hang around the 3-point line and not under the basket? And he does it he never goes to the ball. And it's one of those things. They have him up top, and then they run that high pick and roll so that they could go ahead. He could set a screen and roll to the bucket, and his size allows him to make himself available and maybe get fouled or go or score a bucket. But again, against other teams that have the same kind of size, better quickness, it can be effective at times, but there's also times that I just would love to see them just post him and get everybody else the hell out of the way and be able to make something happen inside with that and spread the floor and let him use his size to see over the defense as guys move to make themselves available from the perimeter for either a repost or a shot from the perimeter or just spread out to give yourself lanes to drive to the bucket. And that's something that the Hoosiers haven't done a great job with. I mean, plain and simple, they have not done a great job with that. 812-393-2600 is the number. I want to hear from you. Somebody, let's see. That was a comment. I'm looking on Twitter. This guy just commented about how it was a comment I made about Notre Dame not really forcing Indiana into the mistakes that we've seen all year. That Notre Dame had nothing to do with it. They were fast. They are faster, but Indiana did play uncharacteristically. Michael on Twitter says, I use excruciating to watch, just brutal. And yeah, I understand that. Because it really does get to be a very, very frustrating outing for because we keep watching the same game over and over and over again. That's where you run into a problem. You just keep seeing the same thing. Would love to hear your calls. I'm waiting on this Woodson video to show up. I know that it will be made available by IU. I'm a little surprised it isn't already on our Peegs website. And I know those guys are really busy as well. One of the things that is a little bit different for this one is I'm not actually at Assembly Hall today. I'd covered this game remotely, and normally it's my job to get the video up right away. Obviously, that hasn't happened quite as quickly. We do have a transcript of the press conference, so I'm expecting Indiana to make that available very soon. It just hasn't popped up in the shared drive that they give us for that video just yet. So where does this Hoosier team go from here? That's the real question. And the answer is you're not going to see anything all that special or different against Winthrop for sure, because Winthrop is a mid-major, and it's one of those games where it's fine to try to polish what you do. But let's say that you win and you win big against Winthrop. By one token, yeah, you're supposed to. So what do you want, a cookie? On the other hand, if Winthrop gives you trouble, it raises some eyebrows. So it's a game that you should win easily, but it's not a game that you learn a lot about yourself in those kind of outings. Every team plays them. But I really question just the unity of this roster, how well they play together and they fit together. There's unquestionably talent here. But the same flaws that have been an issue for these Indiana teams, from the free throw line, from the three-point line, all of that just continues to be a part of the equation. 812-313-2600 is the number. The frustration of IU fans is understandable, but at least Indiana is winning the game and walking off with the victory. You just want to be able to maybe just look better on the field. Also, something else that has nothing to do with IU basketball that I thought I'd comment on as we wait for this press conference video is Ricky Henderson, base stealer from the Oakland A's, passed away on Saturday, or at least it was announced that he passed away. Ricky Henderson was a guy that was an entertaining player. He was somebody that is one of those guys from your childhood for me, that you're like, oh, wow, Ricky Henderson died. It's unfortunate. A polarizing guy, to say the least, and I don't think that we'll see anybody like him again because of how dominant he was on the base pad. Somebody put up the stat that a player could have 60 steals a year for 23 straight years, and he still wouldn't catch Ricky Henderson. Rest in peace to one of the most interesting players and the king, absolute king of third person. I guess I've been thinking about, I always do, thinking about history a lot, especially watching IU football and the fact that they just had their historic season. And for years we've heard about the 1967 team and how team and how awesome they were. Well, obviously this is the best season in IU football history. And it has been, was a ton of fun to watch this season play out and go see Indiana go 11-2 and play in the college football playoff. History has always been a part of IU basketball. It's why Mike Woodson is the head coach, because he was a star at IU. Had he not played at IU, he wouldn't have even been considered to be the head coach at Indiana University. And the basketball program has not matched historic levels of what the reputation kind of brings to the floor. Not even close. And it is a shame, because you want to be able to see IU play at the level that you fell in love with them having. And it's not there. And it is something that is a challenge, to say the least, because I keep waiting for Mike Woodson to maybe be able to turn this thing around, for the light to come on. And that just simply has not happened to this point. Now, one thing that has happened, and I'm pleased to say, is that the Mike Woodson press conference video has arrived. So that's good. Without any further ado, here is Mike Woodson during his post-game press conference after IU beat Chattanooga. The file is starting. I promise you it'll be coming up here in just a second. Spoke too soon. Give it a second. It will
Yeah,
open.
Coach.
Here we go.
Obviously, you guys won. All wins are good, especially around the holidays. But I was wondering your thoughts. That stretch in the second half, I think it was 6 minutes without scoring, 8 minutes without a basket. What are the things that you feel need to change to avoid that from happening against good teams, Big Ten teams?
Well, again, that's 2 games in a row that we've had stretches like that. And again, I don't know if guys are just kind of looking over their shoulders based on the Nebraska game. We didn't play bad in Nebraska. We just, that last 6-minute mark, we couldn't make shots. And tonight we started down that same road again, looking and not being sharp offensively. And as the coach, I gotta get us over that hump. I gotta get them comfortable, knowing that you're gonna be in close games and you got to make plays coming down the home stretch.
Mike, Chattanooga had made 10 threes today, and had a lot of good looks from out there. What do you guys need to tighten up with that too, to have the especially weak side shooters getting too good at easy looks?
Well, I thought just their movement caused problems for us tonight, and the backdoor cuts and things of that nature. Then we just got stale. I mean, I thought we had one stretch where when we went up 10, our defense was pretty solid. But then we give up a 3. That 10, 11-point lead goes back to 7, 8. And those are things you got to eliminate, especially against good teams. And this is a good team. They played St. Mary's great after watching them on film against St. Mary's. And I knew that they were coming here ready to play. And I didn't think our starting unit was right tonight. I thought our bench played well and basically secured the game for us tonight.
Trevor, then Mike. Hey, Mike, you mentioned the backdoor cuts causing a lot of problems. That's kind of been a theme throughout the year with the weak side alertness and urgency. What can you do to correct that, and what went wrong tonight?
Well, we just got to keep working at it, man. I mean, this is something, we prepared all week for this team and worked on a lot of things, but I didn't see a lot of good things from my work that we put in this week, and that's kind of discouraging. But the bottom line is we got to keep working through it and keep pushing guys and get them better. That's my job to do that.
Mike and then Zach.
Coach, it seems like a common theme throughout the season has been like an inability to play 40 minutes, like to just maintain a high-level play throughout a game. What, in your assessment, is like the one or two?
Well, I don't agree with that. We've had games where we played for 40 minutes and had big leads and won big. So I don't agree with that statement. But, again, when you're talking about playing elite teams where we haven't played great, I thought the South Carolina game was a great game for us. The Providence game was a good game for us. But I just got to get it fixed. I got to keep working and pushing these guys. That's what coaches do, and basketball players got to get better and do their job as well.
It started out slow, especially defensively this afternoon. What was your assessment of the practice and what practice was like the last week after that Nebraska loss?
Practice has been tough, brutal. A lot of running, a lot of work put in. And I thought our bench, I can't blame everyone. Hell, our bench was pretty good tonight for us. They came in and played solid, I thought. It probably should have played them the whole game and set the starting unit down. But at the end of the day, I got to get all guys get them all clicking when they on the floor playing. And, it's work in progress still, but we still have a long way to go. I got to keep pushing.
You stressed the importance this season about assisting, and tonight with your 16 assists, how pleased were you with your ball movement or displeased?
Say that again?
How pleased were you with your ball movement tonight with your 16 assists?
Not good. I mean, we had 16 assists, but at the end of the day, we could have had probably 26 assists because I just thought the next pass wasn't there. Guys was still trying to do it themselves, and I got to get us over that.
Coach, it was another good defensive half in the second half for the most part. How do you get your team to start games with that same intensity that we see in the second half?
Well, I mean, it's been a mystery. We've had games where we jumped on teams, and we've had games where we started slow. So I got to find an even ground somewhere where they come out and they start out well and sustain it, and the bench comes in and sustain it. I mean, we've had games like that. I got to go back and find them.
Kevin, then
Mike, we're a couple months into the season now, but do you feel like the progression has been there from this team, looking from the start of the season to where you guys are at?
Well, again, I mean, when I go back to our practice game against Tennessee, we were very competitive, and I'm trying to get us there on a 40-minute basis every night they step out on the floor, and we're not there yet. Nowhere near it. So I got a lot of work still ahead.
Mike, Christmas in a couple of days. What's the plans between now and then? And
well, the guys have a few days off. We come back on the morning of the 26th, and we'll practice that evening of the 26th and get ready for our next opponent. And I'm wishing them all a Merry Christmas, and I hope they have a good time. But you get 2 days, and you got to come back and go to work. So that's what it's all about during this time. Hey, guys, Merry Christmas to everyone.
Oh, boy. Not to go over there. Right there. Mike Woodson was asked about a common theme about the season being an inability to play 40 minutes, maintain a high level throughout the game, and he answered, I don't agree with that. We had games where we played for 40 minutes and had big leads and won big. I haven't seen a 40-minute performance today, this year. I suppose he's thinking about Providence or something like that. Sam Houston, but even at those, there were stretches where Indiana struggled along the way. And then he was asked about another good defensive half in the second half. How do you get your teams to jump with that? And he said, well, it's been a mystery. We've had games where we jumped on teams. We had games where we started slow. It's not a 40-minute effort. It's not a good, solid 40-minute that's come around. He was asked a couple months into the season, do you like the progression? And he said, I'm still trying to get us there on a 40-minute basis. Every night they step out on the floor, we got a lot of work to do there. Yeah. It's an inconsistent ball club, and I haven't seen, I mean, have they played 40 minutes? They physically played 40 minutes, yes, but it doesn't mean it's a high level throughout the game. He says we played against elite teams where we haven't played great. I thought the South Carolina game was a great game for us. Providence was a good game for us too. South Carolina, I don't believe was a great game for you. Providence was a good game. Providence had the late game the night before. There's reasons for that. So I don't know. There was a get them over the hump. We got to get it fixed. We have that. There was also the mention about ball movement. And he said we had 16 assists, but at the end of the day, we could have probably had 26 assists, but the next pass wasn't there. Guys are still trying to do it themselves. So I got to get us over that. And that's the issue. And that's the issue you're going to run into when you have so many new faces who are maybe don't have fantastic chemistry. All of that is part of the equation here that they're dealing with. So again, a very interesting press conference from Mike Woodson. Some head scratchers there along the way. And what are you going to do? This is where Indiana is. They are who we think they are. And so it's nice that they were able to pick up the victory. But does it make me feel better about what's coming up in the Big Ten and some of the challenges Indiana might have as they go forward? Not at all. Not at all, because we keep watching the same game after game after game, and week after week. Next up is Winthrop. Now, there won't be a post-game call-in show after the Winthrop game. That is something I just wanted to mention. Going to be traveling, so there won't be a post-game after the Winthrop game, but we'll get back to it in January as Big Ten season comes along, and the challenges for the Hoosiers get a hell of a lot harder going forward. But tonight, or I guess this afternoon, a 74-65 win for the Hoosiers against Chattanooga. Same game, different opponent. Outcome that was fine, but again, doesn't teach you anything about how the season is coming together or given us any progression. It's been a challenge. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs Post Game Live. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best in IU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time, but for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, just wanted to say thanks for listening, and happy holidays, everybody.